What's up, YouTube? I have to be a little bit more quiet today. There's family in the living room and we're kind of near the living room, so I can't be yelling. Right now what we're gonna start off with is the Acura ILX DIY. So that's what I have here in front of me. So I'm gonna go to the desk. Sorry, went the wrong one. So here's the desk. So let me get those harnesses out of the way. These harnesses right here. Let's adjust that a little bit. Okay. Let me see if I can turn the brightness up on this camera just a little bit. Sorry to be moving the camera on you guys, but okay. Properties. No, I can't really do anything to it on here. Okay, alright, so DIY combo or DIY kit. These are the harnesses you're going to get from us when you order an Acura ILX dash kit. So you have your main power plug, which is right here. There's this big gray one. All these wires, right? Look, here it is. You have the plug that's going to turn on your factory screen. So this is to keep your backup camera, super important. And then you have the antenna, which is going to keep AM FM. So antenna right here, little blue wire. I'm going to show you how to hook all this up. But along with this, let's say you're installing a traditional aftermarket double-din radio, so Pioneer, Kenwood, Alpine, anything name brand. It doesn't have a key 1 or a key 2 wire. You're also going to need the AXWC. That's this harness here. AXWC harness. We'll cover this in a second. You're also going to need, and this is the most important part, is a relay and a wiring harness. So let me go to the desk. So this is what that looks like. I'm gonna go to the desk real quick. So I'm gonna move this out of the way. So this is a relay. Oh, sorry. This is a relay right here. This is just a wiring holding for the relay. Now the reason for this relay is because in order to turn on the factory screen, so the factory little top screen that shows your backup camera, in order to turn that on, this wire needs to get ground when the car is on. So it needs to get grounded when the car is on, or what we call a negative trigger. So you can do that with a relay, you can do that with other devices, but the relay is the most easiest. Normally a relay will take an accessory circuit. When it gets the signal on the accessory circuit, it completes another circuit that allows more amperage. So basically you have a small little wire that turns this on. When this is turned on, a lot of current moves from one pin to the other, and this is good for like big, what do you call them, light bars and other things that use power but need another trigger to turn them on. You can't just time directly into that. So what you might not know is that this can also be used to generate a negative trigger or to output ground when another trigger is current. So in this case, we're going to take ACC, which is the accessory from the key, and apply it to this. When it gets applied, this is going to provide ground to this wire, and I'm going to show you how to hook that up. That's to this wire, sorry. That's the most complex thing about this entire install, and why it's worth getting at least a wired harness, because you don't have to do this step, and this can be super confusing if you don't have exactly what I have in front of me. So this is a 4-pin relay. They're going to ask you how many pins, or when you go online to look for one, it's going to be how many pins. And this one has excuse me about that, 4 pins, and you can see them right there. You can count them, 1, 2, 3, 4 metal little sticking things. Then this, to make it easier, comes with a holder, and then comes our wiring. So the way this works is these 2 wires are what get complete. It goes blue and white. So when this gets a trigger, the circuit here completes. Then this is your main power source. In our case, we're going to put yellow to blue because our power source is going to be ground. This normally goes to ground, the other end goes to your accessory, etc. So now we're going to have this white is going to go to brown here, and then red is going to go to accessory, and blue is going to go to ground. I'm going to cover it all. Let me go step 1, which is that this gets connected to this. Now, you could just tie this up here, but for visual aid, visual representation, it's easier to do it this way. So we're going to take yellow to blue. Sometimes this wire is black, depending on which relay you're using or which wiring harness they gave you with your relay. Bam. Okay. So we're going to solder that first. All right, cool. That's soldered. We're going to sleeve that real quick. One sec. All right, so we're going to open this sleeve up. Let me lower my music. Sorry, you're probably picking that up. Actually, now it just sounds like rain. All right, so I'm just going to stop it. Okay, so then this, what I'm applying here is heat shrink. You could just use electrical tape. It's just to seal this connection so that that doesn't touch anything else. That's why I'm doing this. And my heat shrink's a little small, so I'm just making it bigger. Oh, I ripped it. All right, looks like I got to start with another piece of heat shrink. Again, you can just add electrical tape here. I'm not doing that. This is an actual customer harness, so I'm not going to put electrical tape there for that to get removed later on by accident. So now I think I stretch this enough. Slide right over. I'll slide it down just a little bit more, and that's good. It's covered that. Now we're going to apply some heat. Okay, so that was step 1. Let me get all this other stuff out of the way. Step 1 is going to be yellow to blue. Step 2 is going to be white to this brown black wire right here. This is step 2. This is on the harness that you got from us, would be this right here. Come on, really? What's stuck here? There's nothing stuck. I don't get why it doesn't want to. Oh, this came off a lot. Alright, sorry guys. Bear with me here. Okay. We're going to sleeve this wire. And connect this here. We're going to solder this now. So remember, white to brown black. Okay. Now we're left with 2 wires. Now this wire is blue, but we're going to treat this as ground. So this has to go to your black wires. This wire is red, and it should go to your accessory. So now we have to continue with the rest of the harness. In order to continue with the rest of the harness, you have to know which radio you're installing. In our case, probably your case too, you're going to use a Pioneer. We're using a Pioneer. So we're going to have a bunch of wires everywhere, and it's going to start getting confusing real fast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this to the side. We're going to go 1 wire at a time. So I'm just shrinking this heat shrink. Heat shrink is like electrical tape, except it shrinks when heat is applied. So you slide it over the connection, heat gets applied, and then you can't move it. That was pretty high. I shouldn't have done that. Okay, so I'm going to put this to the side. We're going to move to this harness. So here we have a Pioneer harness. This is a traditional Pioneer double DIN harness. This is what the connector looks like right there. It's black, has like a little tab on the side there, blah 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 blah. It's going to have two labels on it on your blue white wire. So this is blue white, and then you're gonna have actual green wire. Mine's pink, yours is gonna be green. Just remember that distinction. It's gonna say parking brake. What we're doing first is we're gonna add a parking brake bypass. We carry these, or you can get these online elsewhere. A parking bypass allows you to access menus that are normally only accessible when you have the car in park, and it makes it so you don't have to run a wire from this harness to your parking brake. So in this case, we're going to go green. This is going to be a light green. You're going to go light green to dark green. In my case, it's pink. But again, yours is going to be light green. So light green to dark green. You can go black to black and blue to blue white. So let me grab my blue white and my black. So remember, green to light green, black to black. Excuse me. Yo, what's up? What's up, KC? Alright, so it's black to black now. And then we're going to go blue to blue white. Let me just grab the blue white wire out of here. There we go. So that covers. No, it's fixed. I'm just doing a wiring harness tutorial. So if you're wondering who I'm talking to, YouTube, there's a live chat on live videos, and people join the live chat and ask questions. So if you have questions, you can join the live chat when we stream on Sunday nights. If you're watching this video, following along to figure out how to wire your ILX, here's the next step. So we did light green to green, blue white to blue, black to black. That covers wiring on this side. But we're also going to add our relay to this side. So now it's going to get a little bit more tricky. So we have two red wires. We're actually going to combine them. So we'll do red to red. I'm going to have a jumbo of wires, so get used to it. Wires are different thicknesses and lengths. You cut them down, you make them the same length. With the thickness, you kind of just have to deal with it. So now that was red to red. Our next connection is going to be blue. Remember, this is blue. Yours might be black, but ours is blue. We put the yellow to the blue, and now we're doing blue to black. I know this is super confusing because why the color's different. That's just the way that they do relay sometimes. Honestly, they just use wacky colors. It is what it is, and you got to follow this step by step from the beginning. So if you're jumping on now, this is going to look hella confusing. You're going to be like, what the hell is this guy doing? Why is he connecting the wrong wires together? I'm not. I've done this numerous times. I know this is how it goes. But if this is your very first time, follow step by step. So we did the reds. We combined the blues. That means every single wire on my relay is taken care of. There's no more wiring on my relay. It's wired. It went red to red. This blue wire to the blacks, to ground. Now we have to take care of the other side of the harness. So we're going to put this to the side. We're going to work on that now. So on this case, we're going to start with the AXWC harness. This is to keep your steering wheel controls. Since we have a Pioneer radio, we are going to be using it. I'd like to remove wires from the AXWC that I'm not going to use. It's just my own personal thing. You don't have to use this step. It's not necessary for you. Again, just my own personal thing. But I'm going to just walk you through which wires you are going to use and which ones you're not. Hold on, this is just so I don't rip my fingers. Okay. Alright, so on the AXWC, you're going to use the red wire. You're going to use the black wire. You're going to use the gray with a red stripe wire. And then you're going to use this wire right here that leads to the headphone jack that has a white and a red. This wire right here, which is gray blue, you are not going to use, so I'm going to yank it out. These wires here that are pink and blue pink, you're not going to use, so I'm going to yank them out. And along with all these other green wires. Now on your ILX, you're able to keep volume up, volume down, previous, next, and mode with this method. If you want to keep the back and call buttons, you will have kept the gray blue wire inside your harness, and you would have had 2 wiretap wires either at the steering wheel or the HFL. We're not going to cover that. We're doing a plug and play installation. So here are the wires you are going to use: red, black, gray, red, and then this little red, this little white. So now on this harness is where they're going to connect to. This harness on this edge next to the red wire. So you see, here's the red wire. So it goes orange, white, red. There is a gray wire. Right above that gray wire, there's a black wire. So that's where you're going to connect these 3. They're going to match up. You're going to go gray to gray red, black to black, red to red. So I'm going to take care of that now. Now you might be thinking to yourself, wow, this looks a little complicated. We didn't even attach any wires together yet. We have just basically set up our harnesses. There are a few more steps that do make this even more complicated, and this is why we didn't launch a DIY version till afterwards. And our DIY version does not include the relay, because you can easily mess this up and fry your top screen if you're not careful with what you're doing. So if you are confused or rather not take this, I recommend getting the plug and play. You go on AcuraAudioGarage.com. You can order the harness and the dash kit. It's only $169. If you want the steering wheel control to work, you can get it with the steering wheel controller. That brings your price up to $250. You can get the plug and play harness from us and the steering wheel controller online and save some money. It's up to you. If you are confident with your wiring, you can just tackle this on your own. If you're having a shop do this, I don't know if I would trust just any old regular shop to do this, just because some of them are less experienced, especially with the Acuras. So you really got to trust your installer or know your installer that they're going to do the right thing by you. But okay, so I did that kind of fast, so I'm going to walk you through it again. It's gray red through to gray. The gray red's on the AXWC. Then it's black to black. Then it's red to red. It was just color matching. The only thing that can trip you up is this gray to gray red. And you got to remember that the gray is right below the black by this side. There's another gray that's next to a gray black on this side, closer to the yellow wire. This is a speaker wire. So right here, this is the speaker. On this side, right next to the red, is the steering wheel control wire. So just keep that in your mind, that you're grabbing the right gray wire. The correct gray wire will be all by itself. So now we have that attached. Because this is a Pioneer, we only have one single blue white wire, so that means we're going to combine these two. So this was my antenna, so I'm going to combine both my blue wires. Okay, and we're going to match those up later, one step at a time. We're just prepping this harness. Then we have a set of black wires that we connected. These aren't connected to ground yet. We need to connect them to ground. So we need to attach them to this big, thicker black wire on the edge here. And that's going to go this one to these black wires. So this is the actual ground. This thick wire here actually leads to ground inside the car. So everything needs to go through here in order to work correctly. All right, so now all our wiring is prepped. We can start making connections between the harnesses. So I'm going to bring everything to the table and you'll see what I'm talking about. Now we're going to connect everything straight this way. We're going to start with all the big wires first, all the wires that are tricky first, and then we'll cover the speakers and everything from there. So the first thing I'm going to do is the blacks, because that's what's going to trip everybody up. Remember, we have 3 blacks total on this side, the 2 from the steering wheel control, and then the 1 primary thick black round. On this side, we have the black from the bypass, the black from the stereo harness, and the black from, or this blue, which we're going to treat as black, from the relay. So we're going to twist all this together. You can see I have mine forked, and that's just the way I twisted mine together. You can twist yours however you want. The reason for these forks right here is so that I can twist these together like this and make it easier for myself. So there we go. Now we're going to add solder to these blacks. Okay, cool. Now we're going to move on. We did the blacks. We're going to do the reds because those are also super important. So we have 2 reds here. We have 2 reds here. Pretty simple. You're just going to combine them together. There's really nothing else yet that's crazy about this. So I'm just going to grab some heat shrink. I'm going to grab thick heat shrink again, because this side is a little thicker. Oh, something just went out of stock. What is it? Oh, some speakers. Nice. All right, cool. All right, so now we're going to twist these together. Remember, these are the reds now. All right, so we got that nice prepped. And take care of my reds. All right, so now my reds are soldered together. So for power sakes, we're gonna take care of the yellow next. And after making this connection, my radio will turn on and off when it's supposed to, and my top screen will turn off when it's on and off when it's supposed to. Yellow, black, and red on most harnesses are constant power is yellow, ground is black, and red is accessory, and those are the necessary wires and connections in order for your radio to turn on and off when it's supposed to. Constant power means it has a good power source to generate the to power the internal amplifier of the radio, is what I should say. Accessory is just a little switch that tells the radio to turn on, and ground is ground's pretty self-explanatory. Okay, so we did red to reds, we did all our blacks, we did the yellow. The yellow is just 1-to-1. Now we're going to do something that's a little bit tricky for people who this is their first time or aren't too familiar with wiring. Remember, we did gray red to gray earlier. This doesn't come this way. There's no connection on this side. This just gets connected to itself, and then you can add heat shrink or tape, and that connection is finished. There's no other part that needs to be wired anywhere or connected to anything else. I can just add heat shrink now to make this simply finished. That wire and the wire we're going to do next share that same thing. So that only gets connected to itself. This light pink and green, or in your case light green and green, the parking brake wire only gets connected to itself, so nothing else goes to this wire. So you can also connect this and then add heat shrink or tape. Those 2 wires are ones that only connect to themselves, So we're just getting them out of the way now. Come on. Okay. All right, so it's starting to look like something, but it's still a mess. We're gonna move on to our blue-white wires, or our blue wires. So on this side, we did blue to blue-white. The blue's coming from the parking bypass. On this side, we have our two solid blues. Now, this is super important. I'm gonna jump to my camera because this is something a lot of people are going to do. You're going to want to add aftermarket subs. Hold on, where'd that thing just go? Got it. That was crazy that I actually got it. But yeah, I actually killed that. Okay. So back to what I was saying. Most of you with the base model ILX are gonna want to add aftermarket subs because you're gonna want you're gonna want base to balance out your system. When you go to add aftermarket subs, you normally use this blue-white wire right here. So keep that in mind, that you want to add additional blue-white or additional blue wire and leave yourself some, so that you have something to connect to, because if not, you're not going to know where to connect it. On our harness, if you want to add subs, we're going to tell you wire tap the blue-white wire. But okay, just wanted to cover that because people always ask, and that's super important for people. So now this, I'm going to use this heat shrink. I'm just going to open it up. I got a cut on the worst part of my finger, bro. It doesn't hurt. It's just annoying because it keeps bleeding, and I use it so much. But cutting a lime, it happened too. It wasn't even working. If it was working, I'd be like, whatever, man. It's part of work. I was cutting a freaking lime, making a salad, cutting a lime, and the knife slipped. Apparently, I don't know how to cut stuff. Okay, so two blues on this side, two blues on this side. Combine them together. And what's actually sending power through this blue wire, this is coming from the Pioneer radio. So it goes out of here to the bypass, and then out of here to these two wires to turn on the factory amp, which in this case we don't have, and to turn on the antenna booster. So that covers blues. We did our reds, we did our yellows, we did our blacks. And now you're going to see that all we really have left, oh no, sorry, we almost skipped one. So then the last thing is this orange white is going to go to orange or orange white on yours. Usually it's always orange white, but if you have an orange and an orange white, make sure you match them up. They do mean different things. Usually Hondas don't ever have an orange. Just solid orange is always orange white. That's just the way it is, because one's illumination, the other one's illumination control. Well, I won't get into that here, but just match up your orange wires, make sure they say illumination, and then that was the last wire. This is what dims the radio when you turn your headlights on. So when you turn your headlights on, radio gets dimmer. When you turn your headlights off, radio gets brighter, and that's that wire that does it. Okay, so after all of those, you're going to see that here on my Pioneer, I have 8 wires. I have a pair of gray wires, a pair of white wires, a pair of purple, a pair of greens. On this other side, I have a pair of grays, purples, greens, and whites. What I have to do is I have to color match each one. This is pretty simple. It's pretty standard across all stereos. This is what's going to power your speakers. So let me go desk and me. So if you don't connect these, your speakers won't make any noise. This is for your base model, so you need to make sure you connect these, and these will power your tweeters, all your door speakers, etc. And they go by color. This next step is pretty simple, but I'm still going to film it for you and do it on video. I'm just going to quickly do it. I'm not going to talk about every single step, but know that you do need to connect every single one of those wires. In the meantime, I will answer some ILX questions that have come up in the past. Number one is my top screen's not turning on. Then we have to ask people, what do you mean by that? And they're like, oh, it only shows the time Oh, okay. When you go in reverse, does it show the reverse camera? Yes. Okay, that's the intended functionality. When you replace the factory radio with an aftermarket radio, the top screen only shows the time in your backup camera. It doesn't show anything else. You have to use your aftermarket radio for all the other features. If I have a 2013 to 2015 Acura ILX and it has the ELS system with navigation, can I upgrade it? Yes, you can. The amplifier interface we sell will work for that car. It's still using the same amplifier from the previous generations of Acuras, so the ELS system, we can interface with it. The navigation system will be lost. It's really like an Acura TL in those years from 13 to 15. It has the same connectors. It follows the same pinouts. Obviously, just the plastic and the trim is different, but it's still... you can still upgrade and interface with it. It's when you get the two screens in a 2016 Premium or ELS where the upgrade becomes a lot more complex and not necessarily worth it if all you want is CarPlay. If you're going to make some audio upgrades or really build an audio system, then it's totally worth it, I believe. But if you're just looking for CarPlay in those years, there are better options that are more simple. But the other thing I have heard is like people have issues with their infotainment system altogether and they just want to get rid of it. And yes, you can use the dash kit and we can get you the harnesses to make it semi plug and play. It's not 100% plug and play because you do have to run wires. Like for AM FM you have to run to the tuner. There's some wires that need to run like underneath the center console if you want to keep the USBs and stuff. So it's a little bit more involved. We've sold very little of those for those cars. We've had the thing that keeps happening with those newer years is like people go to shops and the shops tell them that they could do it, and then the shop doesn't properly do their research. They order from us, obviously, when they want to sell the dash kit. They order from us. We tell them what are they working on. They're like, hey, some guy kind of got rude. He's like, I just need the dash kit. I was all right. I sent him the dash kit, and then he was like, hey, the top screen doesn't show anything. I'm like, yeah, I know. We covered that in our video. Remember the video I sent to you? He never watched it. Customer was upset. He was trying to blame me, and I'm like, I told you in the beginning to watch the video that there's a lot of things that would be lost. And then he never took accountability. He just was like, I'm going to return this. I said, okay. Then I had another shop who installed it all, didn't tell the customer about everything they were going to lose, and then the customer came back a week later and wanted it all removed. And they had to remove it and eat the cost because we weren't taking, that was all used stuff. We don't take returns on used stuff. Like, do your research. We have all the information out there for a reason, and we even ask you when you order, what are you installing, and then basically walk you through what you're going to lose or keep if you are doing a model that's not plug and play, so to say. But if you're watching this and you have a base model, you're all set, man. This harness is all you need. So we go back to these. I connected all of these. So we just color match the speaker wires. It's pretty simple. If you've ever done a radio installation, this is probably what you had to do. This is for a base. If you have a premium, this is the step you skip because the premium has an amp. So 2013 to 15 premium, you're going to use RCAs and not speaker wire. So you won't have this. So let me just show that. Let me just go to. So, okay, if you have a 2013 to 2015 premium, so premium on the radio, you have the factory sub, you don't connect speaker wires, you use RCAs, we'll send you the right harness for your car so you have RCAs instead of speaker wires. So if you're following this video, you're watching this video for entertainment, you're like, hey, I don't have speaker wires, you're not supposed to. You're supposed to have RCAs. This is only for base models, but this is the most common scenario is the base model, so that's why we're covering the base model here and showing you how to wire it all. Alright, so back to the wiring. So all those are covered. Now we just need to actually solder them. And this doesn't need a ton of solder, just a little bit to really bond the wires together. This is just so they don't come apart. That's really why you solder, so wires don't come apart on you when they move or something gets accidentally pulled. So you don't need to soak them in solder and get them super hard. You just need solder to penetrate through and create a permanent bond in the wire so that it can't be pulled apart easily. Okay, cool. So all those wires are soldered. Now I'm going to apply the heat shrink to everything. And then we have to apply heat to the heat shrink. One step at a time. Let's get all these taken care of. Gotta make sure we cover all these wires good. And then after this, you're pretty much done. We just have some things we need to take care of for looks and appearances. If you're doing this on your own, you can go plug everything in and test it. You should have sound. Your top screen should work. Your steering wheel controls are going to possibly need to be programmed, or the steering wheel control interface will need to be reset. On your Pioneer, this plug right here will plug into the back of the Pioneer under WR. So make sure you plug this into the right port. And then this connector right here, this little black connector, goes into the AXWC. So make sure you plug it in before you connect any of this. Always plug this in first, plug this into the radio, then apply power. Otherwise, your steering wheel controls won't possibly auto program. Okay, so all that's taken care of. Let me bring this to the side. And now let me apply some heat. And all the heat does is just cause the heat shrink to actually shrink and wrap itself around the wire really well so that it can't move. Basically, when you connect electrical connections, you don't want them to touch metal or other electrical connections. So that's why you add tape or heat shrink or crimp caps or whatever connectors you use. Or the old, twist and then add tape. But that's the whole reason why we do it. Okay. So now all those wires are connected, and this looks crazy. But if you followed step by step, you made all the proper connections, everything's connected correctly. I'm gonna make that AXWC connection. So green box has black box. Black box connects right here. And now if your steering wheel controls don't auto program, this right here has the LED. No, sorry, this has the reset button. So right next to this little thing with the texture right here is the reset button. Here, you hear that? Has a reset button in here. This second hole is just the LED. This will tell you. Something that happens very often is when you actually apply power and it has programmed, this will flash green very quickly once. That means it programmed correctly to the car. People miss that blink, and then they assume that the module's not working. If this blinks green one time really fast, the module programmed, if your steering wheel controls aren't responding, it's because the radio wasn't picked up. So you got to change the radio mode. This is the AXWC. You can look up AXWC manual programming and you'll find a video that helps you program this manually, or you can just reset it and try again. So you're going to hold 1, 2, 3. That's let go. It'll then start blinking right here, red and green really fast, and you'll hold volume up on the steering wheel. So on the steering wheel, you're going to hold volume up and you're going to keep holding it. This is going to flash a bunch of times. Then it'll eventually go solid red. Once it goes solid red, try your steering wheel controls. If it never goes solid red and it starts blinking red and green really slow, then it didn't program. You're having issues. So call us 631-538-0068. You can text. If it's after hours, you might get a response. You may not. If it's during business hours, 877-542-2872. That'll get you to our tech support. They'll walk you through what to do. But that reset usually always gets things done. That's how this plug this in. Just remember, this has to plug into the back of your radio or your harness. If you have Pioneer, etc., whatever, make sure you plug that in. So now I'm gonna just unplug this real quick because we have to take care of this. This looks crazy. There's no way I would send you this. It needs to look presentable, so we're gonna take care of that. We're gonna start with a little bit of electrical tape and then add some Tesa tape. So this is electrical tape. This is Tesa tape. It has like a soft texture to it. What's up? Nah, man, I'm the one who's late. I was working. I got like 15 orders done in like an hour and a half. So I was on a roll. But then now I have to make harnesses. So I was like, let me start streaming to make these harnesses. So yeah, I might as well get, this is a super common question that I don't have a good video for. So here we are, guys. I'm going to apply the electrical tape. This is just to organize my wires so that when I go to test to tape them, they don't go crazy. And then I do want to add some zip ties as well to take some pressure off any wires that might be a little too tight. I appreciate you guys tuning in, man. Hope y'all had a good weekend and that this week is good to y'all. But alright, so just adding that zip tie. Then look, I have like a bunch of little wires here that are like all over the place. So I just want to organize them a little bit. In order to do that, I'm just going to use my electrical tape. So I'd like for my wires to terminate kind of to be the same length. And these are kind of a little too long in some cases. So I'm just going to apply a little tape and tape them back a little bit. Nothing crazy, but like, look, they overhang too much. I kind of want them to be side by side. So in order to do that, I'm just going to take a little bit of electrical tape and just tape them down over here. Okay, I have this big loop, so I want to include that big loop over here. Okay. Then I do want to add a zip tie here to release some of the tension on these wires. So I'm just going to separate them out and then add my zip tie. Just one sec. Again, this is all appearance stuff, and it does help with installation and like not getting your wires caught and stuff. You'll see what I'm talking about in a second. Right now, this is all just appearance, so that it looks like a finished product in your hands, and it doesn't. Because like right now, if I sent you what I have right now, you'd be like, what the hell? Why did they, like, this looks unfinished. At least that's what I would think in my head. This looks unfinished to me. So in order to finish it, we're going to add some Tessa tape. We're going to start up here. Bring our parking bypass out of the way. Now we're going to bring our parking bypass into the mix. And then we got to leave our backup camera trigger wire out. So make sure not to tape that. Okay, then we're gonna bring in our relay. Now, something that people have mentioned in the past to me, who are electric, like they do have some background in wiring or they know about wiring, they're like, hey, isn't that relay gonna overheat or cause a higher load on the system? And I guess technically you would be right if the relay was using power, but remember, the relay is using ground, so it's not taking more power, it's just giving ground when the accessory of the car is turned on. So when the red wire has 12 volts, ground comes out of the relay, not more power. So it's not draining the system in any way or putting a strain on the system in any way. It's just giving the screen ground when it needs to. So you don't have to worry about the relay giving you an issue. But I just wanted to cover that because that has been a question in the past. Well-intentioned question, because it does get a little warm because obviously ground is traveling through it. But it doesn't overheat or cause any issues in your car. And believe it or not, we've sold over 100 of these now. Well, getting close. I shouldn't speak about that, but like we're like 87, so we're almost there to be a true 100. Yeah, I remember the launch of this thing, man. The wiring harnesses were all wrong. People's speakers weren't working correctly, man. If you were an initial launch, I really appreciate you, man, because they could have tanked this product with how terrible that release was. But most of them were pretty patient with us, and they stuck it out, and now they're enjoying their new radios, and they paved the way for the new guys because we took care of all those kinks issues we were having. It was just one stupid thing with gray wires, and then the wiring harness is being pinned wrong from the factory. But, you know, I should have caught that earlier than I did. It wasn't until people started calling, hey, my front right speaker doesn't work, and my steering wheel controls don't work. You saw the gray wires we did earlier. That's what was the cause. But yeah, the thing that I don't like about the way this harness turns out is that it just looks crazy bulky. You can get a better look or appeal with a smaller relay. But this is the relay that's going to be most available to people. That's the one we used. But alright guys, so here's the final product. This is what you're going to get if you order the complete wiring harness / plug and play complete kit, either from Acura Audio Garage or Mobile Max. They're listed on both sites. Here is the 3 connectors that connect to the car, power for your screen, antenna. Here is the connector that plugs into your Pioneer radio. This is going to plug into the SWC port of your aftermarket radio, or WR for your Pioneer. Here's your access box. This is your relay. This big thing right here is your 12 volt relay to turn on the screen, and this right here is your parking brake bypass, this little guy. So that's the entire harness, all complete, all plug and play for you. Excuse me. If you are thinking about doing this yourself, you saw the video, step by step you can get there. Just be prepared for a challenge, because that was a lot. That was connecting a lot of wires. And without this guide, I don't know how many people will be able to figure it out, especially the relay part. But all right, this is good to go. I'm going to package this for this customer. Let me just throw it in a bag. We got our bags back. Just throw it in the bag. So here are the bags. And then the back has instructions and our contact info.